condition. Okay, so for condition, the subtopics that we are going to look at in this video are, the first one is impossible condition. We said we have three types of condition. So we did the likely or the probable condition, we did the improbable or the unlikely condition. Now we are going to deal with the impossible condition, which is the last one. Then we'll also look at other condition structures or other ways used to express condition. Then we'll look at some of the examination questions together with their answers. Okay, we'll start. Type 3 of the condition is the impossible condition. What is this type of condition? So we are saying this expresses situations which are impossible. Impossible. Do you know the meaning of the word impossible? It can never exist. It can never happen. So the situations shown under impossible condition are impossible. They can never take place. They cannot happen altogether. That is impossible condition. So like I said, these things are like mathematics. They've got formulas. Just that here we are calling them as what? Patterns. So we've got the pattern for the impossible condition, just like we had the patterns for the likely and the unlikely conditions. So the pattern for the impossible condition is that in the if clause, there should be the word if plus the past perfect. The word if plus the past perfect. In the main clause, we should have the word would plus have plus past participle. There are ways that I need to explain here. Past perfect and past participle. Okay, so past perfect expresses actions that took place recently. Actions that took place recently. Take note of this word here, recently. Not in the past, but just before then. Just before then. And it is formed by adding the word had to the past participle. That's how we form the past perfect. When we want to do the present perfect, let me take you to the present perfect, then that way I'll help you understand the past perfect. For example, when we say see, the word see here, see. When you are just from seeing, something, what do you say? I've just seen. Have seen. You use what? Seen. You put the letter N. Have seen. Now, what if it's not you? You are not the one who performed the action of seeing. Let's take it for instance that is another person here. What do you say? He has seen. He has seen. Has seen. He has seen a plane. He has seen a cow. He has seen a girl. You see? So now when we take it into the past, this has will become had. It will become what? Had. Then we simply add the past participle seen. This is the past perfect. This is how we form the what? The past perfect. Had plus past participle. Another word here is the past participle itself. I've explained, but let me explain a bit again. Past participle expresses actions that were started in the past and completed in the past. When you talk of sin, in the past, it will be what? So. It will be so now. I saw something. That means the so is expressing that you started seeing in the past and it ended in the past. So you saw. You did what? You saw. When you come the word find as a verb, a positive word. When you take it the past, it will be what? Found. I found. That means that is the past participle. Those are the words you are expected to put in the main clause of the impossible condition. Let us look at a practical example. If Mwanza, look at this. If Mwanza had gone to church. If Mwanza had gone to church, comma, what do we put in the main clause? He, that is the pronoun, the would plus the have plus the past participle. This is just the formula that you need to master. He would have found his teacher. So you see, in the impossible condition, we have the word what? Have here. In the improbable or the unlikely condition, we had the word would but no have. So when you put have in the improbable, then you have done what? Subvert from the improbable. You are under impossible. So make sure you master the patterns. The patterns. The second example, if Stephen had asked his mother, she would have given him the money. These are the words you should put in the impossible condition, the if clause. If Stephen had, the past perfect, had asked his mother, she would have, the past participle, given him the money. Given him the money. Are we together there? That is the end of the three conditions now. The likely, unlikely, and the impossible. We look at other structures used to express condition. We have other structures that express condition as well. We'll start by looking at unless and even if. Unless and even if. Unless tend to confuse people during exams. Yeah. Unless tend to confuse. No, unless, no. But it's very simple. What you need to know about English is that do not rewrite sentences according to how you feel like it sounds incorrect. No. Let the sentences sound correct according to the standards of English. That's how it is. Let's go. Unless. The word unless simply means if not. Just this is very important to you. Unless simply means if not. So, whenever you see the word unless, just know that it is expressing if not. If not. So, unless itself has two words, the if and the not. So, it is negative on its own. Take note of that. The dots in between these dashes you are seeing here, if and not, denotes that there should be some words there. Here, there should be some words between if and not. When unless is used to start a sentence, you must put a comma before connecting the second idea. When you use unless to start a sentence, then you should put a comma after the first idea. Why? When it is used within the sentence, you are not supposed to put a comma anywhere in the sentence. Simple. Let us look at some of the examples. If Stephen doesn't go to church, he will not find his teacher. The most important thing about unless is that you need to practically understand the question. You need to understand what is being talked about and take it practically, personally, what is being talked about, what can happen here. So, if Stephen does not go to church, okay, Stephen does not go to church, what will happen? He will not find his teacher because he has not gone to church. The teacher is at the church. So, if Stephen doesn't go to church, he will not find his teacher. Okay, so now, when we use unless in this wait or in this sentence, so how is it going to be? It will be find his teacher. Look at this, very important. Unless Stephen goes to church, he will not find his teacher. Look at the note in the second sentence. Here we have but here the not has gone where? It has been swallowed by unless. So this if and this not here in contracted form, the not, when you say not here, you can write it in contracted form like this. So the simplest thing you can do with unless, simply to look for the words not and if, then you eliminate them and replace with the word unless. Simple. You replace with the word unless. So now when you put unless, arrangement of the words will change. Unless Stephen goes to church, he will not find his teacher. If Stephen doesn't go to church, he will not find it. So we still mean the same thing to say if Stephen doesn't go, because the unless has the if and not. So itself there is expressing negativity of Stephen not going to church. That's how it is there. I will not lend you my bag until you return my purse. I will not lend you my bag until you return my purse. There is not here. How is it going to be when we use unless? Unless you return my purse, I will not lend you my bag. I will not lend you my bag. Because there is the word what? Until here. Until you return my purse. So the unless here is expressing, oh, if you don't return my purse. If you don't return my purse, what will happen? I will not lend you my bag. So the unless is negative on its own. Let us look at further examples. If he trains harder, he will win the fight. If he trains harder, he will win the fight. Let us use unless. Unless he trains harder, he will not win the fight. Here is where we need to be very careful, because we do not have the word not. But when you put unless changes everything. That means the first sentence has become negative. Hence the second sentence also needs to be negative. If he trains harder, answer this one. If he trains harder, he will win the fight. When you put unless, you are saying if he does not train harder. So when you put unless, you simply mean if he does not train harder, because the unless has if and not in it. If and not. So there you mean if he does not train harder. What will happen? He will not win the fight. So for unless, you understand what they are talking about and then you answer. You don't just wake up and say, no, I put unless there, put unless there. That's how it is. Or he will not win the fight unless he trains harder. We are saying we can also start with the main clause. So when we start with the main clause, that's how it is going to be. He will not win the fight unless he trains harder. In this case, you are not required to put a comma anywhere. If the boy is not proved innocent, he will be sentenced to 15 years in prison. If the boy is not proved innocent, there is if and not here. How is it going to be? Unless the boy is proved innocent, we still mean the same thing, because unless has not and if. We still mean the same thing. So unless the boy is proved innocent, he will be sentenced to 15 years in prison because he has not been proved innocent. The word unless is expressing negativity, still bringing back the words if and not. So you still mean the same thing in the first and the second case. If he pays Lowola, she will marry him. If he pays Lowola, she will marry him. If you say unless, then you say if he doesn't pay Lowola, because the unless has if and not in it. So unless he pays Lowola, she will not marry him. He has not paid Lowola. How will she marry him? Or she will not marry him unless he pays Lowola. Or she will not marry him unless he pays Lowola. Simple. Even if. Even if is also another condition word. It is used to mean whether or not. So for even if, the condition has no effect on the result. The condition has no effect on the result, because whether or not, whether the condition happens or not, something will still take place. Something will still happen. That's how it is with the even if. Example. Even if Lucas did not come to see me when I was in the hospital, I will still visit him. So look at this. Lucas did not go to see this person when he or she was in the hospital, but he will still visit him. So the condition of Lucas not going to see this person when he was in the hospital is not affecting the result of him going to visit him. Even if Lucas did not come to see me when I was in the hospital, I'll still visit him. Again here, when you start with the even if, you put a comma. No even if, no comma. So I will visit Lucas even if, you see, I will visit Lucas even if he did not come to see me when I was in the hospital. You start with this. I will visit Lucas even if he did not come to see me when I was in the hospital. I will eat this mango even if it's raw. I will eat this mango even if it is raw. Even if this mango is raw, I will eat it. When you use even if, it will be like, even if this mango is raw, I'll eat it. So the condition of the mango being raw or not is not affecting you. It's not refraining you from eating the mango. It's not preventing you. So there, the even if, the condition does not affect the result. As you have observed here, even if is used to mean whether or not. In both cases, the condition was not affecting the result here. In both cases. We'll have another condition word which is but for. This is another expression to show a negative. Take note of this. Is used to show a negative condition, and it can be used both at the beginning and at the beginning or in the middle of the sentence. There was a typing error here. This is the word beginning or in the middle, so you can begin with but for or not. Mpelo would have come to church but for the heavy rains. So you simply express the negative with but for. So if not for the heavy rains, this person would have come to church. Or but for the heavy rains, Mpelwa would have come to church. Simple. The robbers would have broken into the house but for the security guards at the gate. But for the security guards. As you have seen here, we are not putting a comma when but for is used inside a sentence. But for the security guards, at the gate, the robbers would have broken into the house. So when you start with but for, then you put a comma before you proceed to the next sentence. These are just condition structure with the same principle. Providing or provided that. The structure is used to mean if. Simple. This providing or provided. So you can say provided that or providing that. Or just use providing or just use provided. Simple. You just mean to express if. If he comes, we will go. You simply replace this word if with one of these. So we say provided that he comes, we will go. Or providing he comes, we will go. Or providing that he comes, we will go. Or provided he comes, we will go. You can put any of these. You are just replacing with what? If. Simple. You only replace if with the word provided that. If we went to the cinema, we would see the lion. Provided that we went to the cinema, we would see the lion. Do not change tenses there. Supposing, suppose that. Used to express condition in place of if. Now this one works like provided that, but as for this one, you use it normally in question form. We use it in question form when asking questions. If James was poor, would you have married him? When you supposing to be, supposing James was poor, would you have married him? Question mark here. Suppose James was poor, would you have married him? Or supposing or suppose that James was poor, would you have married him? So you can use any. If it was your mother who said that to you, would you have answered back? This is two. No, top. If it was your mother who said that to you, would you have answered back? The answer is supposing or suppose that it was your mother who said that to you. Would you have answered back? So we only use supposing or suppose that or supposing that. Standard examination questions. You can pause, try to answer, and then check for the answers in the next slide. These are the questions here. These are the questions. Answers, expected answers. Unless you train harder, you will not win the fight. But for the judges being not fair, Mwaka would have come out the first in that quiz. Even if the young man had pleaded with me, I will not give him the money. But for the patient, we would have visited you. I will not buy you a big gift unless you pass your examination. Provided that you wash the car, I will buy you a puppy. Supposing Mary had asked for your car, would you have given her? So supposing is always used to ask. You always ask when you use supposing. So these are the answers. You can try to, you pause the video on the questions, you answer, then you come to the answers and then try to cross-check, cross-examine and see, okay, this is how far I have understood conditioning.